We truly are facing a constitutional crisis right now. Your thoughts on it?
Oh, there's no question it's a crisis, but good for Abbott for basically blowing up the narrative of the left, of the Biden administration and the left, because they keep blaming Republicans for this. They keep saying the border is secure. They say it's not secure, but it's fine. And their basic argument always is that you're a bad person if you don't like homeless people living on your streets, if you don't like people breaking into your country, if you don't like high crime when these criminals are such poor, mistreated people. You're a bad person for not liking those things. And they're just blowing that up, first by sending all of these migrants into leftist cities. So, that Boston is keeping them at the airport and New York is filling up their hotels. And also now by showing that not only is the Biden administration not securing the border, it's stopping Texas from securing the border. And it is a genuine constitutional crisis because a lot of people on the right were angry at the Supreme Court for knocking down the lower court's order that the feds couldn't remove the barbed wire. But back in the day when Trump was in office, the right was arguing that the president had complete control of border law and that anything that he wanted to do by executive order was thereby illegal. So it really was not the Supreme Court's fault. I think there really is an open question. Abbott is making a terrific argument. He's making the argument that not only the Constitution, but just the social contract, the reason we turn over our freedoms and our rights, some of our freedoms and our rights to a government is because they promise to protect us. They promise to protect us, our property. They promise to protect our lives. And the federal government is failing to do that. And they're openly failing to do that. This is a throwback to the Obama administration's decision not to enforce the Defense of Marriage Act, the idea that our legislators have the power to pass a law, but the president can just say, no, I'm not going to enforce it, which basically makes him the king. If you can basically throw away a law, you become the king. And so everything that the Biden administration is doing seems to me a violation of the rule of law. I think Governor Abbott has the better of the constitutional argument, but he's also got a much better narrative going now. He's showing the people who are very concerned, according to the polls, about our open border, as they should be. He's showing the people that the Biden administration is not doing its basic job of keeping us safe, of keeping the state uninvaded. And I just think he's winning this argument hands down.
He is winning the argument. That's the thing. So what happened was the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued an injunction saying to the feds, keep out. You cannot go mess with Texas except under very limited circumstances, emergency circumstances. You cannot cut down the razor wire. And the Supreme Court lifted that injunction that had been placed on the feds. So the feds are now free to go try to cut down border wire. And Texas, what Governor Abbott is saying is, we're going to build more, which he can do. That actually doesn't flout the Supreme Court order.
That's right.
But if he prevents the feds from cutting down the wire, then he's potentially in violation of the Supreme Court order. And so they've got to be very careful about not flouting the order, not doing anything to get themselves in any legal, right now they haven't done anything unlawful at all. And keep the argument on the merits of who's got the obligation. Does Texas's ability as written into the Constitution to protect itself against invasion trump these federal immigration statutes that the Biden administration is saying it has the right to enforce and only it has the right to enforce? The Constitution does trump a federal statute. So we're kind of ramping it up on who's got the prior claim. We'll talk about it with Dershowitz. But to your point, as long as Abbott has a legal leg to stand on, he's winning in every other way. The PR war is on. And if Biden is forced to send agents down there, Andrew, to cut down those wires, every news organization in the country will be forced to send a camera and to air it, and it will stay on loop between now and November.
This is the brilliant part of it, because everything that the Biden administration has done up till now has been, or at least has seemed to be passive. They don't have to do anything to open the border. They keep saying, send us more money because we need more border agents. But all they do with the border agents is process people into the country. So the more money we send them, the more we're actually aiding this invasion, which is ridiculous. But this is an active thing that they have to do. They have to basically say, We want these borders open. And once again, even if they do that, even if Biden somehow takes over the National Guard, which he has some right to do, in terms of history, he has some right to do that. He's actually taking the action that says, I want these people pouring into the country. Nobody but the farthest people on the left want people pouring into the country. We've never had it before. It can't be done. It's especially bad now that we have a government and an establishment, not just the government, but our entire cultural establishment that doesn't really believe in America, so isn't in favor of assimilation. So you not only have people coming in, you have more people coming in that could be assimilated, plus you have this massive establishment calling us racist, saying we're systemically racist, saying our history is awful, our statues should be torn down. So there's no way to assimilate these people and teach them to become, potentially good citizens. They've got the entire system rigged to overturn what has been an incredibly successful nation. I don't think that is a majority idea in any way, in any manner of means. And it's jet fuel for Donald Trump. I mean, basically the guy who's been saying build a wall all this time, it makes him look great.
Well, that's a lot of people have been asking the question, does Biden know he's running against Trump? Does he know Trump is going to be his opponent? Because he seems to be doing everything possible to play right into Trump's, strongest hand.
Well, on the one hand, it does seem to me that Trump is still, in some ways, the weakest opponent he could have in the general election because of the way he offends independents and suburban women. And that's just numbers. That has nothing to do with anything but the numbers. But at the same time, Biden now has a popularity rating, I think, of 6 guys in Delaware who used to know him. I mean, I don't know who is in favor of this administration anymore. So now you've got the real possibility that maybe Trump can't win, but maybe Biden could lose. And so this strategy that they've had, that people hate MAGA and they've managed to demonize MAGA so much, may not work. It may backfire. There's a really interesting thing going on in the country right now, which is people are starting to wake up to the hysteria of the media, this full court press. I mean, you can watch, just for laughs, you can sit back and watch these supercuts of the media talking about what Trump will do in their imagination if he becomes president again. He could shoot his wife in the Oval Office and get away with it. Mm-hmm. He could, he's going to send us all to Gitmo. He's going to arrest all his opponents and all this stuff. And Trump loves this stuff because it makes them look like idiots, and he can even play into it. And the more he gets them excited, the stupider they look. But even Jonathan Chait, a hyper-liberal, a big supporter of Biden, a hater of Trump in New York Magazine, said people are getting tired of this. They're just exhausted by the hysteria and the fact that the hysteria just isn't true. I mean, Donald Trump can be a very offensive character. His manner is off-putting to many, many people, but his policies are center-right at most.
The pressure to conform to political correctness has undeniably suppressed genuine debate, and it's time we put a stop to it. Enter Freedom 2.0. I love this. Listen to this. It's a bottled water company, an unapologetic one that proudly supports the freedom to speak, to think, and to listen. We can't afford to remain silent anymore. It's crucial to make our support for the First Amendment crystal clear, and one impactful way to do so is by choosing products from companies that share our values. Visit freedom20.com and use the code MK for a 15% discount when you get there, to stand with me and millions of other Americans in celebrating the right to free speech. Remember, freedom is not inherited. It's something we must actively fight for. So raise your voice, grab your bottle of Freedom 2.0 and make a statement. Cheers to Freedom 2.0. That's Freedom 2.0, like the letter O, not Freedom 2.0 when you're typing it in. And champion the power of free speech. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.